Good evening. Let me just start by saying how delighted, but also deeply honored I am to be even considered for the McKee Trophy. This is the oldest aviation award in our country since 1927. It has been awarded to such an incredibly accomplished group of Canadians. Canadian pioneers in leaving the earth, in going into the third dimension, the untrespassed sanctity. And to be considered is a huge honor. To be named, to be awarded it, is beyond anything I think I deserve. But I thank everybody very much for the honor. I've flown a lot of different types of aircraft over the years. I started flying just as a passenger with my dad, and then as an air cadet. Part of what we develop and grow in Canada, such a huge country with sparse population, is both the necessity but also the skill of flight in Canada. And I began with air cadets, gliders, and then powered, and then the Air Force, right through to defending our nation during the height of the Cold War, intercepting Soviet bombers that were intruding into Canadian airspace, and then on to be a test pilot and flying almost 100 types of airplanes and helping to make aviation itself safer. But the past recipients of the McKee Trophy have all been aviators within the atmosphere and have all expanded the concept of what flying means. But I have been lucky enough to be an aviator who has gone even higher and gone even faster. I've flown, almost half a year in space on multiple spaceships, been a crew member on the flight deck of the space shuttle, and been the pilot of the Russian Soyuz. And I think the task of commanding the International Space Station, the responsibility to maintain that aerospace vehicle in a calm and assured manner, I think, and at the time looked down and thought that there are a lot of folks who are flying coast to coast in Canada, doing the same thing, or point to point pilots of all different levels right across our land and around the world. And my very first flight took off out of Florida, first flight in the space flight, took off out of Florida, got up safely to orbit, raced around the world, and 90 minutes later came arcing up across Canada. We crossed the border in Ontario, right by Sarnia, where I was born. We came overhead of London, Ontario, where I did my first powered flight with the Air Cadets, where I learned to fly over top of my parents' farm in Milton, where I'd flown out of their grass strip, down the 401, all the way to Trenton and Mountain View, where I'd had my very first flights as a glider pilot, and where so much of my flying began. To be able to see that just 90 minutes after the launch of a rocket ship was both magnificent and hugely appropriate, I thought. It put it into focus for me. It gave me a chance to look down and marvel, but also to whisper thanks to all of the people who enabled that, who built the structures that allowed it, and who taught me all of those things over the years. And as the commander of the International Space Station, I recognize the privilege of it, the joy of it, but also the responsibility of it, with a Canadian flag on my shoulder. And as the leading learned society for aerospace in Canada, I really want to thank and commend CASI for recognizing space as a place where pioneering flight takes place. I didn't get there alone. I wasn't the first to fly, but I devoted a large part of my life to it. And I'm confident that the doors that were opened for me, and then since then the doors that I have helped open, Canada's first mission specialist and Canadarm and spacewalker and spaceship commander, we continue to open doors through our daring, through our diligence, and through our ability to support each other and get each other ready to go. And I very much know that for everybody in the room celebrating this level of Canadian accomplishment in aviation and aerospace, what we're really doing, of course, is inspiring young Canadians to yearn for a career of flight, learn for a career of atmospheric flight or space flight. And we all very much look forward as they distinguish themselves in challenging this environment, this basically limitless frontier, accomplishing things that none of us were ever offered nor ever could have dreamed of doing. And looking forward to the chance that we can come together again and celebrate with them. Thank you so much for honoring me with the 2015 McKee Trophy.